Hello chess family, it's me National Master Jesse James, and so we're going to be taking a look from our continued series of Paul Morphy. Rule number 4, do not move the same piece twice if you can help it. This is a beautiful game by Paul Morphy, demonstrating what happens when your opponent keeps moving the same piece over and over. Basically, we're going to go ahead and bring out more pieces, because if they keep moving the same piece over and over, they only have a few out, while you'll bring out your whole army. They're just going to go ahead and overwhelm them. In this game, this is going to be the first time in this series we're going to see Paul Morphy playing the black pieces. Here we go. We start up with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. One of the best ways to deal whenever they attack the pawn on e5, bringing your knight out to c6, developing and defending the e5 pawn. And here white actually plays pawn d4. Do you know the name of this opening? This is called the Scotch. There's about 4 different ways in these knight f3, knight c6 variations how to get an advantage of white. This is one of them. This is one that is very aggressive because it opens up the center by making a pawn trade. Well, the best move here for black, or Paul Morphy, is to go ahead and take. So he goes ahead and does it. He takes on d4. And here, his opponent, Alexander Meek, goes ahead and plays bishop c4. And this is known as the Scotch Gambit. Do you know what a gambit is? A gambit in chess is whenever you give away material such as a pawn, knight, or a bishop to get your pieces out fast. You're hoping that you can get an attack. And so that's exactly what white's up to. Well, let's go ahead and keep this pawn, because a pawn is a pawn, and if we can keep on to it, we can get a winning game. So let's go ahead and try to hold on to this pawn, and let's continue developing our knight and bishop. Which one can we develop and hold on to the d4 pawn? Hopefully you found it. Bishop c5 here. And here already Mr. Meek goes bad in this game and plays knight g5. This is the strategic blunder he makes in the game. He moves the same piece twice in the opening. Of course, we don't want to do this. And do you remember what we said about how we're supposed to combat this idea? Well, when your opponent keeps moving the same piece over and over again, you just bring out more pieces, because pretty soon you'll have more pieces out than they will, and so you should be able to attack them. Well, first things first, before we go ahead and start just developing pieces, we need to see what our opponent's threat is. So what did knight g5 do? Simple chess. The knight's attacking on f7, and also the bishop. So the threat to either play knight takes f7, which is forking the queen and rook, or maybe bishop takes f7 check, stopping the king from castling. Well, this is the threat right here. What's the next thing we need to do? Well, we need to go ahead and see if we can develop a piece and stop this threat. Remember, we could play something like knight e5, but this is not a move I like too much because, well, we're moving the same piece twice in the opening, right? So what's the next piece we should look at moving? It's the knight, of course. And can we move the knight somewhere and defend f7? Hopefully you found it. Knight to h6 gets played here, simple chess. And now we're just developing, and already we're slightly better. Why? We have 1, 2, 3 pieces out, and white only has 2. Here white actually does have a nice little combination here. Knight takes on f7. If we don't take back, we're just losing. So knight takes, bishop takes, king takes, and can you find the move here? What does white play here to attack both the king and the bishop? Queen to h5 attacks both the bishop and the king. Whenever you're in check, perform CPR, capture, protect, or run. The best way to deal with any kind of attack is try to attack your opponent back. So what do we play here? Yes, we just play simple pawn g6 attacking the queen, and the queen takes back here. Now, how would you assess this position? Is white better, black better, or would you say about equal? Here, a lot of people are going to say white is better. And why do they say that? Well, I think the reason why they say that is because the king is a little bit weak here because he lost his right to castle. The main thing about this, though, is the light squares are weak. Well, if white had the light square bishop, this would be true that white is much better here. But because it's just the queen out, well, the queen can't checkmate by herself, we're going to be okay. There might be some attacking ideas. As long as we see them and don't let any pieces hang, we should be okay. Also, one of the bad things about white here too is that the queen's out too early. This is a rule we haven't gone over yet, but we'll go over it later on. Do not bring your queen out too early. What do we do whenever that happens? We're going to use the little pieces to attack her to get free moves in by bringing them out. For instance, white right now it's black to move, and well, what's the next piece we want to move? We want to try and get this light square bishop out. Develop all your minors pieces first, which are the knights and bishops. And here we want to go ahead and get the bishop out, so we're going to get a free tempo by playing what move? Yeah, we're just going to play pawn to d6 here. This attacks the queen, and now we're also letting out our bishop. Here, white goes ahead and plays queen to b5. Somebody might be asking, hey, what about queen c4 check? Well, this is exactly what we want. Remember, if the queen comes out too early, we get a lot of free tempos or free moves if they keep moving the same piece over and over. And here we get to develop another piece, bishop to e6, and now the queen has to move again. Well, Meek was a little bit smarter than that, and he plays queen to b5. What does this move do? Remember, always think about what the best ideas are. And in this case, Black's best idea is to bring the bishop out. So what does queen b5 do? Well, if we move our bishop out now, the queen can take a free pawn. We don't want to lose any material if possible. So let's keep developing with threats. Here, look for undefended pieces or ways that we can make an attack. You could attack the queen here with the pawn, but pawns aren't pieces. We're trying to bring off the rook, bishop, queen, and the rook. And let's see, where's the weakness in the position? Hopefully you spot it. It's this undefended or unprotected e4 pawn. How should we attack it? Should we use the queen or the rook? Simple chess. Do not move your queen out too early, so we're going to go ahead and use our rook. The rook went to e8, attacking the pawn on e4. And White decides to play this move, queen to b3 check. This is something Black is very happy with because, again, this queen just keeps moving over and over, and Black is just getting more and more pieces out for free. I mean, look at this sleeping army over here, and the king is still unsafe. Can you find the best way to get out of check here? Remember, whenever you're being attacked, the best way to get out of it is to attack them back. Here, some people would just move the king, and it's not a bad idea. Once the king's moved away, the king is pretty safe. But here we have a nice idea. Paul Morphy plays pawn to d5. Hopefully you found that move. What does d5 do? Well, it's attacking the e4 pawn, and we want to go ahead and take with the rook. Wait a second. Can't White just take the d5 pawn? Well, they can. It would just be a terrible move. Here, you can see after queen takes d5, pawn tries to take, and they say, hey, how come I can't take? It's because it's in a pin. So here, White would have just lost the queen for free. So now the pawn on e4 is threatened to be captured. Here, White's best move was just to go ahead and castle because, well, what's more important, your kingdom or a pawn? Hopefully you said your kingdom. Although some people will never understand this. They'll keep thinking that I gotta save every pawn. No. Your king is the most important piece. Do not go ahead and get him into trouble, right? So whenever this happens, the best move is just to castle. Unfortunately, he goes ahead and plays pawn f3, trying to hold the pawn, and well, now the position is going to crumble. We want to take on e4 here, but we can't because of the pin, right? We can't put ourselves in check. There's pins all over this place. Well, easy chess. Let's just go ahead and remove the defender, or remove the attacker in this case. So how do we attack the queen? You found it. It's knight to a5 attacking the queen. And here the queen cannot stay on the diagonal here. The queen went to d3. This attacks the d4 pawn. This also defends the e4 pawn. Let's go ahead and defend the pawn on d4 and also get rid of one of the defenders here. Here Morphy goes ahead and plays pawn takes. Pawn takes back. And let's develop with the threat here. Be careful, there is a little trick here. Hopefully you don't fall for it. Alright, here we go. If you thought bishop f5, this is a very nice move. Unfortunately, you just lost the game. Yes, I said develop your bishop before. The bishop's definitely the next piece you want to move here. And, well, it's being pinned. But remember, you have to think about your opponent's ideas. And here, White wants to go ahead and castle. And this works out tremendously. Why? Well, we went from being pinned to attacking the pin, right? Or reversing the pin, right? So here, the bishop's actually being pinned. And we're now going to play pawn takes. And we're going to be losing our bishop now. Can't we just take on e4? The bishop's pinned. They just lose a rook here. So this would not be good. What else can we play then? Remember, develop with the threat and always think about the forced moves in chess, which are checks, captures, and threats. Hopefully you found it. Queen h4 check, attacking both the king and the pawn. Well, White went ahead and played pawn to g3 here. And now there's two ways to capture this pawn. We could play queen takes e4 check or rook takes e4 check. I do want you to know both moves are winning here, okay? It's just your sense of style that is how you want to win the game. For instance, Morphy loves to attack, so if he plays queen takes e4 check, well, that's going to allow his opponent to trade queens. And your queen's one of the best attackers. Does Morphy want to do that? No. I mean, again, this is still a winning position, and this is a very fine way to play, but this is more for a person that does not like complications. And if you know anything about Morphy, he loves to complicate because he loves to attack his opponents. So he's not going to do this variation. Instead, he's going to be playing the rook takes e4 variation. Here he's going to keep his queen on the board and still allow the game to continue with an attack. Well, white's in check, and of course we don't want to take because, well, queen would just take back. So king ran to f2. And now we got our problem, the first complication already, right? Here we got to move our queen away, but make sure we keep defending this rook. So what do? There's about 3 or 4 moves here, only one of them the best, of course. And here, believe it or not, Morphy does not play the best move here. Which move are you looking at? Here, black plays queen f6 check would be the best because now we're attacking our opponent. And I assume Morphy did not want to play this because white would ask, hey, let's trade, and Morphy would not want to. But we have this nice move of maybe something like bishop f5, and then we can get our other rook into the game. So instead, Morphy goes ahead and plays queen e7, and this was not the best move in the position. In fact, if Meek can find the best move, he actually would have a very good position here. So, can you find the move here that Meek missed? In the game, Meek plays knight to d2, which makes a lot of sense. The knight comes out and attacks the pawn. The queen's attacking, the knight and queen are both attacking the rook. So why is this a bad move? Well, we'll get to that in a second. Let's try to find what was the best move here for Meek. Develop with a threat. Attacking the rook is good, but I'll give you a hint. Attacking the queen is better. Why? It's worth more. Did you find it? Check out this beautiful attacking move. Bishop to g5 attacking the queen. Who's defending it? Is it for free? Well, the queen needs to stay here to defend the rook, so if you decide to take the bishop, you just lost the rook. Here, white's going to be in a better position here because they've already got the exchange, and they only need one more piece to get out before they can get the rooks into the game. So, unfortunately because of that, Meek missed this move, and he's going to go into a lost position after the simple-looking knight to d2. It looks like a good move, but, well, the rook's underneath attack. Let's go ahead and move this rook and make a threat. Simple chess. Where can we move this rook and attack something? Easy. Rook e3, attacking the queen. Of course, the queen can't take because we got too many defenders here. If queen takes, we just take back. Pawn's defending. So the queen now needs to move. Where is the queen going to move to make a threat? Hey, is this a free pawn right here? If you said yes, you just lost the game. If queen takes d4 here, this queen was actually guarding a critical square, which was e2. Now it's black to move and win. I'll go ahead and show you a quick checkmate here. Rook e2, and the king goes to, let's say, f1. Can you find the checkmate in 3 here? Remember, one piece cannot checkmate by themselves. Here, bishop h3 check, king g1, rook g2 check, king f1, and queen e2 check and mate. How beautiful would that be? Well, we now see why we shouldn't play, or why the queen shouldn't take on d4. Basically, the queen needs to stay on e2 here to defend. The queen needs to stay on the diagonal here and defend the e2 square. So that's the idea now for black, or Paul Morphy. All he needs to do is keep attacking the queen or harass her, so you can go ahead and win this e2 square. Well, the queen went ahead and ran to b5 here. Is the queen really threatening to take the knight? No, again, if you try and take the knight, then we're going to go ahead and get to e2 and checkmate. So, all we got to do is attack her. What do you play here? Here, Morphy chooses to play pawn c6. And, well, there's only one square for the queen to move to that defends e2 without losing it. What is it? Here, the queen has to run to f1. Oof. All the squares are being defended except for this f1 square. All right, develop with a threat. What's the next piece we want to move? It's our bishop right here on c8, right? And, well, the queen needs to stay here to defend on e2. So what do you play? Exclam time or very good move time? Hopefully you found it. Bishop h3, of course. And, yeah, if we take, we're getting checkmated again. Rook check. King can go to f3, maybe back rank, but this is still losing. Check, king g4, and h5 check here. At this point, white needs to give up the queen for 2 pawns, which at that point you might as well go ahead and resign. So the queen has only one safe square to move to defend the e2 square. What is it? The queen has to run to d1. Oof. All right, what's the next piece we're going to move? Remember, white is under development, so we need to keep developing. What's the last piece we need in this game? It's the rook. All right. Where's the best place to develop with a threat? There's actually 2 good moves here, in my opinion. Morphy chooses a very strong move, of course. Where is the best place to place this rook? I'll give you points if you found the other move too. Here, I would actually play rook to e8 because, well, I always like the idea of making Alekhine's gun, and we're going to win this e2 square. There's no way that you can stop it. But Morphy plays a very good and pragmatic move, rook to f8. This is with the idea of moving the king so that the rook will then attack the king. What does white play? Here, white played knight f3, and, well, I guess Morphy didn't have to be mean here, but he does like the aesthetics of it. He plays king to e8. Of course, we don't want to put our king to the center here. A much stronger move would have been king to g8, but I guess he was really just trying to show his opponent how much of a winning position he had. So he played king e8 here, and believe it or not, at this point, white goes ahead and resigns. Why? Well, let's take a look at some of the variations that can happen here. Hey, is that a free rook right there? No, it is not. If bishop takes on e3, can you see the checkmate in one? Ooh, queen goes to e3, check and mate. What a beautiful mate that would be at the end. This cross diagonals. Are there any other moves? Ooh, how about this? We'll just try and trade off the rooks so that we can pin it and win it. Ugh, you just lost your queen and you're losing a rook now too. Rook takes f3 check. If the king tries to retreat, rook takes e1 will be mating soon. And if we go ahead and take here, it looks like we're going to be able to, white's going to be able to win your queen, but uh-oh, rook takes f3. And if the king takes, well, then we just take the rook here. And again, we're just up in so much material. Black is going to be checkmating soon, if not just winning more pieces. Hope you guys enjoyed this game. Remember, if your opponent does move the same piece twice, stop the attack first and then develop more pieces. Basically, they're going to be underdeveloped and you need to have more pieces to attack them with. Hope you enjoyed this lesson. I'll see you in the next one.